Okay, y'all, I took the earphones off. Good afternoon and hello, everybody, whatever city or state that you are in. I'm coming on here to talk to you a little bit about being in those seasons where God has you hid and sowing seeds. This is something that has been an area of my life where I've really been in. And, you know, a lot of times when you've gone through different stages, especially as entrepreneurs, where you have a massive exposure season, where you're always on and you're always on the go and you're always doing things. And then you go into those silent seasons where God has you hidden and you are tucked away, and you know it's intentional. You know that God is not giving you permission to kind of rise out of the ashes and stick your head out. What does that mean? And what is the purpose? Why does God put us in these seasons, and what is the purpose of it? So I want to talk about just kind of some of the power in being hidden, and some of the blessings in having those silent seasons where you are tucked away and you're able to be in a place, in a state of, just off the grid. Hey, good. How are you? Good afternoon. One of the reasons why God hides us, y'all, is to be able to hear his voice and to get clear. You know, we live in a world where everybody preaches a message that you got to be on, you got to be visible, you got to stay relevant, you have to do all these things. And we live in a society where we feel pressure that if we're not always out there and we're not always constantly doing things to make people know what we're doing, that we're not important and that we're not relevant. And I've learned that there's so much power in peace and stillness. Because what we have to do, and I was talking to my coach about this yesterday, is so many of us have absorbed so many messages from so many people that we don't know what our personal thoughts are anymore. We don't know what the Spirit is saying to us. You don't know, you're not able to discern and hear God's voice anymore, because you're so consumed and so filled with opinions and everybody's way of doing things that you've taken it as your truth. And what happens is when you absorb everybody else's messaging, it becomes a part of your belief system, where you feel compelled that this is the only way that this is gonna work. And if I don't do things this way, then my life is not gonna go the way that it needs to go. And the reality is that no, you've just absorbed people's opinions as your reality. And it can often be the cause of your being stuck, being delayed, and being in a place of doubt. And so in order for God to get your attention, he has to pull you off the grid of where all the movement and action is happening and all the noise is happening, and get you into a silent and sacred place. And so the first reason is to be able to hear his voice. The second reason, y'all, is preparation. Are y'all able to hear this? I don't even know if y'all able to hear. Can y'all hear me? If you could just put in the chat if you're able to hear or not. But the second reason that God does this, y'all, is preparation. There are things that God wants to do in your life that you're not ready for. You haven't taken the time to do what's necessary. You haven't put the time and effort to invest in the process. And you've been praying for something that you are not prepared for. There are things that he's told you to do. You haven't made time to get them done. You've just been so busy and so consumed, and you don't have time, and all these things are happening. When the truth is that you have everything that doesn't matter on your roster, on your schedule, consuming you and making you think that that is what is of most importance. And so when God pulls you off the grid, puts you into those sacred places, gets you still, gets you quiet, he also gives you an opportunity to know what key things you need to be focusing on to get prepared, right? What things do you need to be putting your energy into so that you can begin to be in position for what it is that he wants to do in and through your life. Because guys, listen, there's a major shift happening right now, a real major shift. And it's funny because when the pandemic happened, everybody was on. Everybody had something to say. Everybody had the secret sauce. People were making money. Money was floating everywhere. People were having overnight successes in their businesses, massive growth. They had hundreds, thousands of people attention because they would hop online. People had nothing else to do. but to get on social media because everybody was sitting at home. And so folks began to believe that they had arrived, that they had this level of success, not realizing it was just perfect circumstances that set them up for a wonderful opportunity. Didn't mean that it wasn't great to capitalize off of, but it wasn't real. You know, this post-pandemic life is not the same. People are not making the same money in their businesses. You don't have the same captivated audience. You don't have the same thing happening over and over again where you hop online and thousands of people hop on and you get all these followers and all this stuff. All the what do they call it? The vanity metrics, right? All of the vanity metrics and stuff that mattered in the pandemic, that ain't gonna work in this market. That's not gonna work in this economy. If you're an entrepreneur in this season, right now, where they're talking about recession and the economy shifting and stuff, you gotta have God's ear, God has to have your ear so that you can know how to navigate, you can know how to shift, you can know how to prepare, you can know how to position yourself, you can know what are the key things that you need to be doing, both tactical and strategic, right? What are the things that God is calling you to do in this upcoming economy that's going to make a significant difference, right? What are the ways that you need to move? Who do you need to be connected to? What are the things that you need to be focused on, right? So being prepared is important. A lot of us are so consumed by influencers and people who making money, and we're allowing them to be the voices in our ear when that's not God's direction for you, right? That's not what God has called you to do. God has something completely different. It looks different. It feels different. It's going in a completely different direction. And here's what I know about God. Sometimes God gonna have you do the complete opposite of what everyone else is doing. The complete opposite. So when it feels like something is not working in the space where everybody's saying don't do that, God will be like, go back to it. I'm setting you up, right? I'm setting you up. There are specific things that I have assigned for you to do. I want you to do that thing. God will have you doing stuff that is not popular, that is not trendy, that is not common. And so we have to learn how to operate from a place of obedience and trust God's will and his way in our businesses, right? I know for me, one of my biggest battles was like, okay, God, you've called me to do things in ministry and you've called me to be in business. How do I do both? And it's like they are one and the same. They are not separate. Your business is your ministry. And there are specific things that I'm going to have you do in your business for a specific purpose of impact and transformation and just even the salvation of souls, right? So God is positioning us in strategic places for specific reasons, and we have to be on call, which leads me to point number 3. Point number 1 was so you can have the peace for God to have your ear, right? Point number 2 is so that you can be prepared. Point number 3 is so that you can be positioned. God has you hidden so you know what is your post in this season. God, where am I supposed to be on post? What is my role? Where is my assignment? What is my strategic assignment in this season, and who am I assigned to? You have to be on post, meaning as the world begins to shift, y'all, and folks begin to be overwhelmed, confused, hopeless, lost, and in a place of just complete frustration, you got to know where God has assigned you and who he's assigned you to, and be prepared so that you can be able to know how to fulfill that assignment and what it is that you're called to do. A lot of folks out here just making money, right? Most people are not purpose driven in what it is that they do. So a lot of them don't really have vision for it. They just are connected to the outcomes and the income, right? It's like, oh, I can make this amount of money if I do this amount of things. I can get this amount of people and I can have this amount, it's very transactional, right? But there are specific things that God has you in position for that are directly connected to other people's purposes and other people's assignments. And you have to know when you are called, where you are called to, and what you are called to do. And in order for you to be able to understand that assignment, you have to be so divinely connected to those seasons of stillness where God is showing you what the assignment is. I'm gonna tell you guys something. Like for me, I've always been very spiritually in tune. Even when I made poor decisions, I feel like God is constantly showing me and telling me divinely what steps to take, what moves to make, even in my poor decisions. God has set me up for amazing opportunities, powerful platforms, put me in some spaces and places that I didn't know how I ended up in a room. I just knew it was God setting some stuff up. And so by going through that process, God is always telling me, trust me, move according to what I'm telling you to do. Go in this direction, do this. Even when it felt like I was taking a lot of demotions, right? Stepping down, stepping out of what I felt I was capable of and doing other things that I felt were, taking steps back. God was like, I'm putting you there for a reason. I'm planting you in these specific positions for specific assignments, for specific people to be divinely connected to where I'm calling them to be for their purposes, and to be able to position them to go where they need to go. And so with that said, it's allowed me to understand that my life is about being the hands and feet and doing God's work. And that's in any capacity. In business, at home, as a mom who takes teenagers around to parties and having conversations while we're in the car that they may have never been able to have, just knowing that God is planting you in places in strategic positioning so that you can be able to be on post for people. There's certain people who you are assigned to impact and to transform. And I just know right now, y'all, listen, it is so much noise out here, and you're gonna find in this season, if you're not in it, you or the people around you are gonna be in an identity crisis. Okay, in an identity crisis. Why? Because the world is being shook up. The things that you used to could do that was so easy, you're gonna have to shift. You're gonna have to elevate. You're gonna have to approach things differently. You're gonna have to do things differently, especially as entrepreneurs and as business owners. You're gonna have to be intuitive about what you're doing. You're gonna have to be spiritually in tune. You're gonna have to know if this is working or if it's not working, what your people are feeling, what they're thinking. You're gonna have to have divine downloads for God to guide you and allow you to understand how to pivot, how to make transitions and changes, how to understand when something is what is working, and then when you gotta alter it and tweak it, and what you tweak it with. Y'all, God is so strategic in everything that he does. He is so strategic with how he guides us. He's strategic in the assignment that he gives us. He's strategic in the people that he plants us around. He's strategic in when he opens doors, when he closes doors. And we have to know how to be in tune with what God is doing in this season. I personally have been hidden for probably about, I would say, since 2015. God has had me sitting down and being still. Have I done stuff behind the scenes and building businesses? Yeah, I've never ever not had a super successful year. I still have really successful years every single year, making multiple six figures in my hiddenness, right? Money has not been an issue for me in my hiddenness. It hasn't been where, because I'm not as visible, I'm not online as much, I'm not promoted, I'm not going live every day, I'm not building my list of 50,000 people, I'm not running Facebook ads, none of that has impacted my growth, success, financial means, none of that. I'm still able to continue to feed my family, continue to navigate, do what I need to do, grow and build my business. What has shifted is my ability to obey. It's like the more quieter I've gotten and the more still that I've gotten, the more I can hear his voice, the less influence I'm moved by. I'm not moved by the trends of the industry. I'm not moved by the opinions of people. I'm not moved by the ads that I see that everybody else is saying, you got to be doing this now in order for this to work. I'm not moved by none of that. And now I can walk in a place, in a space of peace where I understand my assignment is my assignment. Nobody else can tell me what God has called me to do in this season but God. And so all that matters, it doesn't matter how many people I go and hire, because I got multiple coaches. I got 3 personal coaches right now. Curriculum coach, I have a sales coach, and I have a business coach. I have multiple coaches in my life. I have multiple people that I talk to about the advancement of my life. I have multiple people that I'm connected to that I can get feedback from. But nobody's voice matters most than what God is telling me to do in this season. And when I start going into places where I'm having conversations and I find myself trying to get people to approve what God is saying, I pull back and say, Nicole, this was not for you to go get a yes or a no from them. This was just simply if you were to get a strategy or talk about a process and get some insight. but I don't have to go to people to tell me if something that God said to me is going to work or not. And so that is the power of being hidden. Because I'm gonna tell you something, y'all. Many people want success. Many people want to be out here and you want to have this huge following. You want to make a ton of money. You want to be relevant. You want to feel important. You want all these things. But what you don't understand is when the foot hit the gas and your life speed up and all these things are coming at you, the demand is high. I've been there, y'all. The demand is high. You're flying all the time. You're on all these stages. Everybody interviewing you. You're the hot topic of the month. You know, your name is out there and it feels really good. You don't get a moment to stop and think. You gotta hope and pray you get a chance to sleep. You be hoping and praying you could just close your eyes uninterrupted without the phone going off. Somebody needs you or some level of demand is on your life. And so what we gotta stop praying for is praying to be busy without purpose. Praying to be out here, to be seen, just to be known and to be popular. And instead ask God, where am I in this season? What exactly do you need from me? When God tells you to hibernate, go hibernate. You will not miss out on anything. This world got you thinking and got us thinking that we gotta always be busy. We gotta always be going. We have to always be moving. We have to always be doing something in order to have a level of impact. That's not real. God has not assigned you on this earth to be busy. He planted you on the earth to be fruitful and multiply. But he talks about having rest, getting good sleep. He talks about operating from a place of purpose and not busyness. There are so many things that God has assigned us to do in this season of our lives that we have to be very careful. And I heard Michael Todd talk about it the other day. He said, if you got the wrong thing that has become the focus of your life, and you're living and dying by that thing, and you're operating at a level of witchcraft and deceit, right? And so what does that mean? That means that there's music out here, it's even gospel music, where you might be, you know, you might have music you listening to or motivational speeches you listening to that tell you this is hustle and grind season. You got to make it happen. I love E.T., but E.T. ain't always the season that I'm in, right? E.T. was 6-7 years ago. I was hustling and grinding. Now God has me working from a different place of strategy, right? And so now I'm elevating, and so I'm maturing, right? And so I'm in that season of like, okay, now we have to evolve. Now we have to operate from a place of wisdom. Now we have to get into a place and a space of operating strategically according to the way that God has called us to work. And it is not hustle and grind. It's the ability to be clear, to be able to get strategic instructions that God is giving you and to obey and execute. But he's also teaching you how to be able to bring other people on, to delegate, to partner, to create strategic alliances, to help other people carry the load, to find those mentors that can sow into your life, that can show you how to do things better and improve in a different way. And so there's just so many things that God will have you shifting, that if you're not careful, if you let certain music or speeches become the theme of your life, then you will be putting yourself in a position of operating in the complete opposite of what God has called you to operate in. And so when I look at people and I see what's happening, you know, this is another thing too. You have to be very, very careful, because a lot of us want to get out here and look and see what other people are doing. And somebody said something yesterday in a post. God has me doing one thing. God has me in this season coaching. Okay, let me just put it out there. God in this season of my life has me coaching. Coaching is something that I've always done, I love, and it is something that I feel every single person needs. I feel like we all need money coaches. I think we all need marriage coaches, parenting. I think everybody needs coaches, right? And somebody made a comment, I'll never coach again a day in my life. It's so this, it's so that. And so they were super derogatory about the industry of coaching. And then everybody started chiming in. I know that's right. I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do that. And so I found for a second a little taken off, right? Like, huh. And then I started asking, well, am I wrong for? No, this is my assignment. I love coaching. God has given me a vision for coaching. God has given me an assignment as a coach. God has told me what to do strategically to raise more coaches. God has granted that is the assignment in the industry that I'm in. And that is one that I embrace, that I appreciate, that I adore, that I am grateful for. Is it time consuming? Heck to the year. Is it hours and hours of time? Yes, but this is my sowing season. You see, a lot of times you'll have people talking bad about what you're doing as if I would never do that. I don't know why you doing that. I would, and they'll just start going off. And what'll happen is if you give your ear to them, their opinions, their personal preferences, their whatever, you will find yourself second guessing the assignment that God has put on your life. And then you'll go ahead, follow that person's meltdown, and you'll be redirected into a place of being out of alignment. And that's because we allow other people's opinions and preferences to become our decision makers, become factors in how we make decisions. And so you have to be so in tune to what God has you in for this season. God, where are you leading me? What are you calling me to do? And I will do it even if nobody else will. Why? Because listen, many are called, but few are chosen. There are people out here who are not willing to do the work that goes along with the assignment. So you have people that are going to go do any and everything to make a buck, but they're going to live purposeless lives. Like, I'm not here to consult and create whatever is purpose driven for somebody, but what I'm here to say is your purpose is different from other people. They know what's best for them. You got to know what you're called and assigned to do. And you also got to understand that every human being on this earth is trying to figure it out. So they are saying things in different seasons in their life that's coming from different energies and different experiences and encounters or disappointments or whatever that has nothing to do with the destiny that is on your life. And so if you keep letting people influence your decisions, if you keep letting people have your ear, if you keep letting people tell you what to do, what's going to happen is you're going to end up missing out on the specific things that God has assigned for you to do. And it is going to crush the opportunities that God has for you because you've allowed other people to influence your decision making. And so what we have to do, y'all, is be okay with the solitude seasons to get stronger in our faith, to get clearer in the ability to hear God's voice, to get more committed to completing tasks, to being able to be prepared for the things that God has called you to do, to take action and without disturbance, right? To be able to be devoted to the completion of a thing without constant distractions and disturbances. And so this season of being hidden, a lot of people don't want it. They'll run from it. But what I've learned, y'all, when I go back and I read the word of God, and I look at the greatest people that he led, I look at David. David was hidden for years out just with sheep, tending sheep, right? Before he was able to defeat Goliath. Esther had to get prepared for an entire year before she would be positioned to be able to save an entire nation, right? You think about Paul. Paul spent years and years in prison. He was constantly being imprisoned and dealing with different things, but God was still able to have his ear and to be able to speak into him and tell him what he was assigned and called to do. You think about tons of people like Moses, right? Who he had these years of preparation in a king's house before he was called to be able to be a king himself and lead people to the promised land. There's so many stories where God has us hidden. Nobody knows who we are. Nobody knows what's going on. You're not out on the front street all the time, displaying every move you make. And so you might think that, oh, well, I'm not relevant if people don't know what I'm doing. Man, listen, sit down. Sit in the stillness. Be quiet. It's okay to stay offline and not tell everybody every move you're making. It's okay to be in preparation mode. It's okay to have that season of not being relevant on the front street with everybody. That is not what God does. He will pull you out, prepare you, position you, equip you, right? And then he'll plant you strategically in places where supernatural acceleration happens and you supersede anything that people were doing over the time frame that they were out there being relevant and being consistently loud and all over the place. God don't need social media to promote you. God don't need social media to plant you in positions of opportunity. God doesn't need social media to give you the level of success that he's promised you. God don't need social media in order for you to be able to grow and build. Am I on here now talking live? Yeah, but you know what? I've been having these conversations in secret for the past 2-3 years, right? And the only reason why I'm coming out now is because there's specific things that God is planting in me to share. And this is one of them, that it's okay to be hidden. It's okay to have that season of stillness and quietness. And so much more that I want to say, but that is my share with you guys. Be okay with sitting still. Be okay with having a season of stillness. Know that it's about being able to be in tune with what God wants to do, being able to get positioned, being able to get prepared for the new moves that he is going to make. And I will encourage y'all in this. Y'all better get so in tune with what God is telling you to do in this season, because opportunities are going to open relentlessly for you if you're prepared and if you are spiritually in tune. Why? Because folks listening to the media is the greatest deception resource that the enemy has to get people's ear, because the more that he can consistently tell a story that is going to continue to grow, that other people believe and begin to repeat. You know, repetition is the mother of all skill, right? The more you hear something repetitiously, the more you begin to take it on as your belief system. And so if you're allowing what the enemy is planting in this season to begin to rule your emotions. And I was teaching my students this the other day about it's a emotional process. I can't remember how it starts, but it's like it's your circumstances create your thoughts create your feelings create your actions, and your actions create your results. And we can look at the circumstances and come up with a whole story about it. But you know what I'm saying in this season? When I look at these circumstances that's happening, economy shifting, you know, real estate is plummeting. Y'all been here before. This is how I got started in the internet marketing game. And in 2008, while the world was falling apart, God had me hidden, getting prepared, getting position, getting equipped. He was creating a new story and a new narrative for me about what was happening in the world. And he had me prepared that when I started doing things in secret and just sowing seeds, all of a sudden it took off and got hit all over the world. And next thing you know, people were speaking my name in rooms I wasn't in. People were asking for me to come and speak and teach and share, and all this stuff just took off. And I can't even tell you we were in a recession, because I made the most amount of money when the world was falling apart than I did when I was working hard selling real estate. So don't get caught up in what you see. Don't let your circumstances create your thoughts. Somebody is mowing a lawn, so it's getting noisy. But you have to create a new narrative. You have to create a new storyline. You have to be recommitted to getting into God's story. And what does God say? And God says that he will make the things impossible with men possible with God. God says that he will open up the windows of heaven that you won't have room enough to store. God says that he can do exceedingly abundantly above anything that you could ever ask or think. God says that if you seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, everything will be added unto you. God said if you ask, it shall be given. You knock, the door be open. If you seek, you will find. God says it don't matter what the economy is going on. If you live according to my principles, anything that you declare here on the earth shall also be declared in heaven, right? There's specific things that God says in his word that it doesn't matter what the economy say. When you live in a kingdom agenda, can't nobody dictate your outcome. It just is period, point blank. Are there going to be circumstances that you have to navigate around? Yes, but God will give you strategic steps for you to take so that you can navigate in a way that everybody else ain't navigating. Doesn't mean that you walk around blindly and in denial. It means that you look for God for the strategy on how to navigate in those places that seem to be the world is panicking about, and you learn how to prepare and be positioned about. My husband is calling. I'm gonna wrap this up. But if I can encourage y'all in anything in this season, keep the face of God. Be okay with your hidden seasons and do what you got to do to get prepared, because it's a shift happening. And he said the wealth of the wicked is being laid up for the righteous. But if you don't know how to be a good steward over what you got, ain't nothing coming your way. So ask God to equip you, prepare you, position you, plant you, empower you, guide you, give you insight, and allow you to understand what you need to be doing in this season to prepare for the shift that is about to happen. So all right, y'all, I'm out. Y'all have a great and awesome whatever day today is. I don't even know what today is. But y'all have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye.